I worked 14-hour shifts to pay off my wife's debt. When I got home early one night, I found her in the bath with another man. She looked me in the eye and said, "Don't make this awkward." I didn't. I just quietly called her student loan company and reversed the payment. I just wanted to see if you'd really go through with it. Hey there. We're working hard to hit our first 1,000 subscribers. If you love true, emotional stories, hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know. Now let's get into the story. I wasn't supposed to be home that night. That's the part that gets me. If my boss hadn't had food poisoning, if the site manager hadn't told us to pack up early, if traffic hadn't been light for once in my life, I never would have found out. The front door was unlocked. That was the first red flag. We don't leave it open. Not even during the day. There was music playing. Soft, jazzy, kind of romantic. The kind my wife only ever listens to when she's trying to set a mood. At first, I thought maybe she was surprising me. It had been a rough few months. I'd been working 14-hour days, picking up shifts wherever I could. Construction, warehouse nights, even some dumb part-time gig packing boxes on weekends. I was tired, my back was constantly aching, and I barely had time to eat anything that wasn't from a gas station. But she had student loans. And not just a little. $86,000. She'd cried when she told me about them after we got married. Told me how she was ashamed, how it made her feel like she'd always be stuck. I loved her. I told her we'd figure it out. So I started working like a machine. I gave up weekends, holidays, birthdays. We didn't go on a honeymoon. I put every cent into her debt. Because she told me she wanted a clean slate. And I believed her. So when I heard that music and saw the bathroom light glowing under the door, I thought maybe, just maybe, she was saying thank you in her own way. But when I walked into the bedroom, my stomach dropped. There were 2 wine glasses on the nightstand. One half full, lipstick on both. Her robe was on the floor, but there was a second one. That's when I knew. I didn't call her name. I just walked toward the bathroom and pushed the door open. She was in the tub, leaned back like she didn't have a care in the world. And he was there too. Some guy, maybe early 30s, with a beard and gym shoulders. He looked more annoyed than guilty, like I was the one interrupting them. She turned her head slowly, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "Don't make this awkward." That was it. No panic. No apology. Just cold, calm confidence. I stood there for maybe 3 seconds. Maybe 5. My heart felt like it stopped, then slammed into overdrive. I couldn't breathe right. My hands were shaking, but I didn't even know if it was from anger or heartbreak or just the sheer absurdity of what I was seeing. I left. Didn't say a word. Got back in my truck and drove until I ran out of gas. Sat there in a Walmart parking lot, staring at the steering wheel like it might give me an answer. My phone buzzed 2 hours later. A text from her. "I just wanted to see if you'd really go through with it." It didn't even register at first. I read it again, and that's when it hit me. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't something she stumbled into. She planned this. She waited until the debt was almost paid off, then decided she was done. I was never a husband to her. I was a stepping stone, a temporary investor in someone else's future. She used me, and then tossed me aside like I was a worn-out work boot. That's when something in me snapped. I didn't yell, didn't call her back. Instead, I opened my banking app, checked the payment history. There was one more lump sum transfer scheduled. The final $6,200 to clear it all. It was set to go through in 4 days. And suddenly, I had a choice. I could let her win, or I could remind her that I wasn't just some dumb mule pulling the cart. She thought she was smart, but she'd forgotten who was paying the bills. And I was about to make sure she remembered. I didn't go home that night. After that text, I just wanted to see if you'd really go through with it. Something shifted in me. It was like waking up in a body you don't recognize. Same skin, same name, same memories, but everything suddenly felt foreign. I ended up sleeping in my truck, parked outside the same gas station I used to stop at before my 5 a.m. shifts. It was cold, and I used a flannel shirt as a blanket. I wasn't even tired, just stunned. All I could think about was the look on her face. Like she wasn't even embarrassed. Like it was a joke I didn't get. Let me tell you what really hurts. It wasn't the cheating. It was the calculation. The idea that this woman, the same one who cried in my arms over her student loans, who held my face and said she didn't know what she'd do without me, was really just waiting to get what she needed. And once she got it, she was ready to move on. Clean slate. Debt gone. New life. Well, almost. Because that final payment, it was still pending. Next morning, I got up, found a quiet corner of a library where I could use their Wi-Fi, and called the student loan company. Told them I had a concern about a large transfer. Said I was worried someone had accessed my account fraudulently. They froze the payment immediately. Opened an investigation. The woman on the phone was polite, professional. She said they'd need to verify the details and that I'd receive a notice in 2 to 3 business days. I thanked her, hung up. Then I took a deep breath, leaned back in the chair, and let the silence settle. She probably thought I'd come crawling back, apologizing for overreacting. She probably thought I'd finish paying off her debt anyway, because that's who I'd always been. The fixer, the guy who took care of problems. But not this time. Not anymore. Later that night, I got a string of texts from her. The tone had changed. Her, hey, are you coming home? Her, can we talk? Her, I think we need to be adults about this. Adults. She used that word like it was some shield. Like her soaking in a tub with another man while I paid off her debt was just life stuff. No big deal. No betrayal. Just 2 adults making decisions. Then came the real gem. Her, you're being immature. It's not like I don't appreciate what you've done. Appreciate? Like I was a donor she'd write a thank you note to? I didn't respond. Instead, I made a list. Cancel joint credit card. Remove her as an authorized user on my account. Call the landlord, apartments in my name. Change direct deposit to personal account only. Remove her name from my health insurance. It was a slow kind of fury. Quiet. Cold. No yelling. No fighting. Just cutting cords one by one. She didn't even know yet that the payment was reversed. Didn't know her fresh start was now flagged with a potential fraud report. She was walking around like the hard part was over. Like she'd pulled it off. And the worst part? I think she believed she deserved it. That she was owed that money. That future. That I was just the guy who should have picked up the pieces. Well, she's about to find out what happens when the mule stops pulling. 3 days later, she got the email. I was on the couch, sipping coffee from the mug she got me last Christmas. It said hardest worker in the room. The irony wasn't lost on me. She walked in from the bedroom like nothing happened. Hair wet from the shower, robe tied like we were still some happy couple. She didn't even acknowledge the silence. Just sat down across from me at the table with her phone, chewing on a piece of toast like she hadn't just set fire to our marriage in a bubble bath. Then her phone buzzed. I watched it all in real time. Her eyes scanning the screen, the corners of her mouth twitching, then freezing. She blinked. Once. Twice. And then, boom. What is this? She asked, holding her phone up like I'd handed her a grenade. She already knew, but she wanted to hear me say it. I leaned back, calm as anything, and said, it's an investigation notice. Apparently, someone tried to make a $6,200 payment without proper documentation. Suspicious activity, they said. She stood up so fast the chair screeched. You froze my loan payment? It wasn't your payment, I said. It was mine. You wanted a fresh start. Guess you'll have to work for it this time. She looked like she didn't know whether to cry or scream. And for a second, she didn't say anything. Then, her face shifted, like she'd hit reset and decided to try a different strategy. She sat back down, lowered her voice. Soft, sweet, manipulative. Look, I know I hurt you, but this? You're messing with my future. There it was. Her truth. It wasn't our future. It was hers. I asked her one question. Simple. When did you start planning this? She didn't answer. Didn't need to. I'd already seen the messages. Yeah, I forgot to mention that, didn't I? Turns out she wasn't careful with her passwords. Her Instagram DMs were wide open. There was a thread with one of her friends. They'd been laughing about milking me dry, saying things like, he's too proud to give up. He'll pay it all. Just be patient. They called me the mule. Said I was dependable, predictable. Said that once the loan was cleared, she'd ease me out slowly. Her exact words. Like I was a fading stain on her life plan. She didn't know I'd read them. Not yet. So when she asked, can't we just move forward from this? I smiled. Sure, I said. You move forward, and I'll move out. She went pale. Not because she loved me, because she realized what that meant financially. Everything, the apartment, the joint savings, the furniture, the car insurance, it was all under my name. She started pacing. Tried guilt. Tears. Blame. This is cruel. You're being vindictive. You're punishing me for something that didn't even mean anything. But that was the problem. It didn't mean anything. Not to her. I didn't yell. Didn't gloat. I just stood up, finished my coffee, and walked out. Spent the night at my buddy's place. And while she was scrambling, trying to figure out what was left in the accounts, I was at the bank, closing everything joint, moving everything solo. I had receipts, evidence. I wasn't just leaving. I was rebuilding, without her. A week after I moved out, I got a message from her coworker. No greeting. No intro. Just, I didn't know she was married. I'm sorry, man. At first, I thought it was fake. Some weird attempt at baiting me. But then he sent me screenshots. Turns out the man in the bathtub? Yeah, he wasn't just some random guy she picked up. He was the project lead on a corporate event she'd been organizing for months. Her late nights at the office. The urgent client dinners. It was him. Every time. He thought she was single. Said she told him she'd just gotten out of a toxic relationship with a controlling guy who never let her breathe. Guess I was the controlling guy, for paying her rent, her loans, and covering her car insurance while she went on coffee dates and strategy retreats. I didn't reply to the guy, not because I was mad at him, because I honestly felt bad for him. He was just the next mule in line. The thing that hit hardest, though, wasn't what he sent me. It's what I found. See, before I moved out, I backed up our shared laptop. We used the same login, and she'd been sloppy. In her work files, I found a hidden folder labeled Life 2.0. Inside, a fully laid out spreadsheet. No, I'm not joking. A spreadsheet. One tab labeled Timeline. Another, Financial Exit Plan. And the last one, Post-Separation Strategy. She had notes like, wait for debt to clear before initiating emotional separation. Try to retain car or request monthly compensation if lost. Start therapy in advance to paint picture of toxic dynamic. Shift narrative to he changed after the wedding. Reading it felt like looking at a business plan where I was the product being used, then discarded. And the most sickening part? At the very bottom, a line I'll never forget. He's predictable, guilt-driven. If pushed right, he'll finish the job even if he knows I'm leaving. Let that sink in. I was never her husband. I was a tactic. So I did what any broken man with nothing left to lose would do. I made copies. All of it. I didn't share it online. Didn't send it to friends. I sent it to one person. Her boss. Why? Because it turns out the man in the tub wasn't just some employee. He was married. And their office? Zero tolerance policy on inter-employee relationships that weren't disclosed, especially when they're on company-sponsored business trips. She didn't lose her job right away. But when the HR inquiry opened and those texts came to light, her shiny post-separation strategy cracked in real time. She called me 4 times that night. Didn't pick up. I was busy, out to dinner with a friend. A real one. Someone who asked me how I was doing and actually meant it. Someone who didn't have a backup plan if I said no. That night, I looked through the last of our joint photos. Deleted all but one. The one where she was fake smiling at our wedding, holding my hand with fingers crossed behind her back, literally. I kept that one. Not as a memory. As a reminder. She always thought I'd go out swinging. Maybe that's why she looked so smug in that tub. Maybe she expected me to throw a fit, to shout, to beg. That would have made things easier for her. She could have spun it. He was unstable. He overreacted. He was always intense. But I didn't give her that. What I gave her was the silence she couldn't spin. By the end of the second week, everything joint was shut down or moved. Bank accounts? Closed. Health insurance? Removed. Joint credit cards? Canceled and reissued in my name. The car? Registered and financed under me. And the lease? Also in my name. She didn't just lose a husband. She lost her living situation. I wasn't cruel about it. I didn't throw her things on the lawn. I packed her stuff into boxes, labeled everything clearly, and left it all at her sister's place. Her sister, by the way, had texted me privately. I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was that bad. If you need help moving, I've got space in my SUV. That part caught me off guard. Turns out not everyone bought her little fresh start narrative. Some people were watching, quietly, waiting for the truth to surface. And now that it had, they weren't exactly lining up behind her. She tried to control the story. On social media, she went dark at first. Then a week later, she posted some vague quote. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is walk away from something that no longer helps you grow. It got 3 likes. 1 from her yoga friend. 2 from people I didn't recognize. But then came the blowback. Because remember that guy from work? The one from the tub? His wife found out. And unlike me, she wasn't quiet. I don't know exactly what was said, but I do know she made a public post tagging both of them. It stayed up for 48 hours before it vanished. But by then, the damage was done. She got dragged in the comments. Not just for the affair, but for the spreadsheet. Turns out she'd bragged about her exit strategy to more than just her one friend. Someone screenshotted the spreadsheet and leaked it. And suddenly she wasn't just a woman who made a mistake. She was the woman who treated her marriage like a contract with an expiration date. She called me at work that day. I let it ring out. She texted, "Can we talk? I need to explain. Please." I replied once. Just once. "You already did. In cell B17 of your little spreadsheet." She didn't reply after that. Later that week, she showed up at the apartment. I was already moved out by then, staying temporarily with a friend before I found something new. She must have thought she could cry her way back in. But the key didn't work, and the property manager had already been given notice that she was no longer on the lease. She stood outside for a while. I know because a neighbor texted me a picture. She looked lost, disconnected, like someone whose entire playbook had been ripped out of her hands. But the truth is, she didn't lose because I got revenge. She lost because she never thought I'd walk away quietly. People like her build castles out of control. They expect screaming, chaos, drama, something they can twist into a story that fits their version of events. But I left without giving her anything. No closure. No big final scene. Just an ending she never saw coming. It had been about 2 months. 2 quiet, peaceful, unbelievably free months. I'd signed the lease on a new apartment across town. Smaller, cheaper mine. Got rid of all the furniture that reminded me of her. The overpriced coffee table she insisted on. The ridiculous chandelier-style lamp that cost more than my first car. Even the air fryer I bought for us, but she only used with him. I didn't block her number. Not because I wanted her back, but because I wanted to see how long it would take for the last piece to drop. And just as I figured it happened, she showed up. Not at the old place. That was empty. Not at my work. She didn't want to risk looking crazy. She showed up at my new apartment, which, by the way, I never gave her the address to. She was standing outside my door when I came home, holding 2 coffees in one hand and a small brown bag in the other. She smiled, like none of it ever happened. Like we were just on a break, and this was her comeback scene. "You're hard to find," she said, like it was a joke. "I thought maybe we could talk. I brought your favorite." I didn't say anything. She held out the coffee. "Cinnamon caramel, no whip, extra shot. You always loved that one." It was like watching someone perform a routine they'd practiced in the mirror. Like she thought if she hit the right notes, I'd fall back into the song. I opened the door just wide enough to step in. Left it open. Didn't invite her. She walked in anyway. She looked around. No photos. No shared decor. Nothing of her left. Her smile twitched. "So you just started over?" I nodded. "Clean slate. What you always wanted, right?" That stung her more than she let on. She placed the coffee on the table and sat down like it was her place again. Started with small talk. Then came the real reason she was there. I think I might have made a mistake. There it was. I waited. I thought I knew what I wanted. And I was scared. "You're so good. So stable. I didn't think I deserved that. But I've done a lot of thinking lately and..." I held up my hand. "I know why you're here." She looked confused. Or maybe surprised I said it out loud. "Your job let you go. HR found out more than you expected. The guy from the tub? He's not answering your messages anymore. You burned your bridge at work, and now the only person who ever showed up for you is the one you bet against." She didn't say a word. Just sat there. Mouth open, eyes glossy. And then, the final move. The real one. "I was wondering," she started slowly, carefully, "if we could still handle the loan payments. Together. Together." That's what this was. Not love. Not regret. Not closure. A Hail Mary for her wallet. Because even though the debt wasn't gone, her options were. I stood up. Walked over to the door. Held it open. "You spent 2 years planning your exit like a business transaction. This is me making mine." She hesitated, stood, walked to the door slowly. "You really won't even think about it?" I didn't answer. But just before she stepped out, I said, "You always said you wanted to see if I'd really go through with it. Now you know." I closed the door. That was the last time I saw her. No dramatic last message. No breakdown. Just silence. She didn't just lose a husband. She lost her safety net. Her fallback. The man she called predictable. But this time, I was predictable in the one way that mattered. When someone shows me who they really are, I believe them. And I walk away for good. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day, and trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.